10 things iPhone does better than Android. That's coming up right now. Let's go. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and welcome to 10 things that the iPhone does better than the Android phone. Now, both the iPhone and Android are incredibly advanced these days, but I got 10 reasons why you might want to pick up an iPhone over an Android here in 2017. Number one reason why the iPhone is better than Android is Apple Care and customer support. So if you're going to be buying a phone that's close to $1,000, or if you're going to be buying a pretty pricey phone, smartphone, iPhone, the Apple Care support system is really good for those of you who break your phones or you need help with them. The customer service is unmatched, and this is one reason why I think that the iPhone, even in 2017, although Android's hardware has really caught up to iPhone in my personal opinion, the support just cannot be beat still at Apple. You could just go into a store, go into a Genius Bar. If you have any issues, it will be rectified. So that's one of the major wins still here in 2017. Second reason why I think iPhone is better than Android here in 2017 is the cleaner experience out of the box. Now, these are not probably the two best phones to showcase this, but the iPhone definitely comes with a cleaner experience out of the box. It's got very minimal apps, and you can pretty much delete a lot of the apps and just take them off your home screen altogether. So for somebody who's looking for a device just out of the box, ready to go, very simple, very clean, the Apple iPhone doesn't come with a lot of junk apps, especially if you get a carrier branded phone. These two phones over here, the Moto G5 Plus and the OnePlus 3T, are unlocked phones, so that's the best way to go for Android in my personal opinion if you're looking for a clean experience. But carrier branded phones such as my S8 do have junk apps on them that you have to hide or disable. No issues here with the iPhone on that one. Another reason that makes iPhone better than Android is encryption and security. I think that the iPhone is a more secure phone than the Android phone, even here in 2017. Now, I'm not saying that it has more privacy features in terms of like security pass lock codes. We know some Android phones have face unlock now, iris scanners, Galaxy S8 we're talking about here, as well as many different combinations to get into your phone. A lot of phones do have fingerprint scanners, but I'm talking about the security measures like that's from Apple, not just the on-device features. It's a little bit more secure, and Android is more prone to malware. So if you want a more secure, more private device for your files to be safe, I think the iPhone is the only way to go right now. Another thing that the iPhone does better than Android is the 3D touch system, and we still haven't seen an Android phone implement this the same way Apple has, and it does actually make things a lot more convenient. So for example, if I go over into settings, this is one I use all the time on 3D touch. You can easily just go to Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, cellular data, battery. Now, once you start using 3D touch, it's really hard to go back to a phone that doesn't use a 3D touch user interface. So 3D touch is definitely a win over the Android. Now, Android has had long presses for a long time, but they don't do much. You can just move icons around, and some phones you can actually press stuff and it's going to show you uninstall and stuff like that. But it doesn't do much other than that. Now on 3D Touch, applications can be developed to support this even more. So if developers get on board in the future, we'll have even more applications that support 3D Touch. And I think it's a really handy feature over here for the iPhone. Another reason why the iPhone is better than the Android is the syncing abilities between other devices. So if you got like something like an iPad, for example, or you have a MacBook or something like that, your devices work extremely, almost perfect in between each other. So using an Apple iPhone and an iPad and an iPhone and a Mac and things like that all together, iPods even, there's no Android that goes between the Windows computer in the same way that it does between the Apple and the Apple. I mean, it's really well optimized, and the syncing experience cannot be beat in my personal experience either. Now, I'm not trying to sound Apple biased here, but this is just a fact of the matter. Like, using these phones, they just work perfectly with the Mac, and I tried it with Windows Phone and Windows Computer, not the same. Another thing that Apple does better than Android is it has support for older devices. So the iPhone SE is going on a couple years old now. Well, it's a year now old. And this device is going to be supported for a long time. Apple keeps their older devices supported for a long time. This is kind of an older device. The 6S Plus is going to be 2 years old now. It's going to get iOS 11. So you can see Apple does does care about their older customers, people that bought stuff from them a couple years ago, whereas you're going to get like 2 years of updates here on something like the OnePlus 3T, and goodbye after that. Like the OnePlus 2 is already done being updated, and that was a pretty powerful phone in the OnePlus 2. That was only one phone ago. We got the OnePlus 3 and then the OnePlus 2. So definitely an advantage to Apple of keeping their phones updated for a very long time. Another reason why the iPhone is better than Android is the consistency of the experience. So whether you buy a large iPhone or a small iPhone, it's the same experience across the board. Even iOS on iPads is pretty much the same experience. And that lends to making this device a little bit easier. If you're going to upgrade, it's not complicated. You're not like, oh, I got to learn how to use this new Android phone, got to learn new software. No, it's pretty much the same consistent experience across the board. And I definitely think that consistency is a key factor as to why people stick with the Apple device, because we got busy lives and we don't got time to be learning new software all of the time. So definitely more consistent. So you can see, for example, on here on the Moto G5 Plus, while very similar to the OnePlus 3T, you could see somebody who doesn't know Android is going to be like, why are those different colors? They're just a little bit different. I gotta hit this to open these apps on this phone, and I gotta go like that to open these apps on this phone. It's just a different experience on Android versus Apple, where you have to do more things, you have to learn more stuff on Android versus Apple. It's more consistent over here. You know what you're doing if you've ever used an iPhone before. The ninth thing that Apple does better than Android when it comes to their iPhone is less choices. So you have less choices of iPhones, which makes it easier to decide which iPhone you want. Now, this has actually changed a little bit over the years. Now we have quite a few options between the 6S, the 6S Plus, the iPhone SE, the 7, and the 7 Plus. But, you know, Android has thousands of devices. So, I mean, it could take you all day, it could take you weeks to decide which Android phone you want. Whereas on iPhone, you pretty much know, okay, I want an iPhone. I just need to figure out the size and configuration that I want of my iPhone. And that really comes down to size, really. You got SE, you got the small 7, and you got the 6S Plus. If you want the latest and greatest, it's between the 7 and the 7 Plus. Over here on Android, you could be deciding for days. Do I want a budget phone? Do I want a premium Android phone? Do I want a flagship phone? Do I want a flagship killer phone like the OnePlus 3T? Do I want a stock Android? Do I want TouchWiz? Do I want LG's interface? Do I want Huawei? Do I want a cheap Chinese phone? What do I want? Like, there's going to be a million choices when deciding to pick up an Android phone. Another thing that Apple does better with their iPhone than Android is the Apple Pay setup. So the Apple Pay setup, while it doesn't support more physical locations than phones like Samsung, and Android Pay does work pretty well for Google, Apple Pay is available across the web too, which is a lot more handy, I think, than just physical locations, because there's a lot of people buying things online today, and the ability to pay for stuff in store and online and on your Mac and on your iPhone, that's pretty awesome in comparison to just being able to use your phone to go make payments. Like if you have it set up on your Apple devices everywhere, you can pay for stuff everywhere. That's very convenient, and that's why I think Apple Pay is a thing that iPhone still does better than Android here in 2017. Those are 10 things that iPhone does better than Android. Would you guys like to see the opposing side? 10 things that Android does better than iPhone. Of course, this video was biased. It was meant to be. We're looking at the side of why Apple is better than Android in this video. In the next one, we can look at why Android is better than Apple. So comment your thoughts down below. Why do you think the iPhone is better than Android? Why do you think Android's better than iPhone? Let's talk about that. Which one do you think is going to go forward with AR, a little bit better, augmented reality? Let's hear about that as well. Comment your questions, concerns, feedback as well, and hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed this. Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Subscribe for more tech videos like this. I will catch you all in the next one. Be sure to be well, and peace.